This video is sponsored by Jammy. Today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, I use a MIDI guitar to record MIDI bass. So recently, when I've done some of the tone recreations like the Blink-182 and Nirvana guitar tone recreations, I've been using a lot of MIDI bass. And that always elicits some sort of cringy comments or people just going, well, why don't you just lay down the bass and just play the regular bass guitar? Which normally my answer is, well, I'm using such a variety of tunings and I don't want to keep all of those, but I don't want to keep 7 basses here at the house at all times just in case I need them. Because I did that for a long time and they just collected dust. And anyway, MIDI bass, the MIDI bass plugins have come so far that it just makes more sense for me to plug in MIDI points and program MIDI bass for the YouTube demos that I do as well on this channel. Now, I normally use Toontrack EZBass, and this is a wonderful, wonderful bass guitar virtual instrument. And normally I will just, I will double click and I will plot the MIDI like you see right here. Now this is of my drums, which sound like this. And normally I do that same thing with the MIDI bass. However, I'm gonna go ahead and try to use the Jammy MIDI guitar to record what I'm playing for the MIDI bass. Today's sponsor, the Jammy, has released a new update for their Jammy MIDI guitar, and it's a pretty big update. Now, in addition to a general overall enhanced sound out of the 1/4 inch out using a regular guitar cable, on the MIDI side of things, you have things like sensitivity presets for different virtual instrument situations. If you're going from strings to horns to percussion, you would want different sensitivities. And now in the included app, you have presets just for sensitivity. Pretty cool. Now, speaking of presets, you can now have different MIDI presets depending on your individual DAW or MIDI instrument. So if you are switching entire platforms, taking this with you to the studio, and now you're in Pro Tools, you can interface with those just fine by selecting various presets for whatever situation you are in. Sensitivity presets, MIDI presets, it's a preset world. And lastly, because you know what, they haven't forgot that we are guitarists, there is now palm muting via MIDI. So if you are attached via the USB 3 port, it will convey via MIDI. How cool is that? I mean, I thought that was a really, really cool feature. Other improvements for this latest update are general sensitivity improvements on the fretboard, more accurate bending, more accurate fretting, hammer-ons and pull-offs. To me, it feels faster than it used to. It feels very, very good. It feels sensitive if you want it to be, but if you don't want it to be, it's easy to just back it off or set a preset and bounce between the two and decide which one you like the most. If you'd like to get your own Jammy, use the code FLUFF50 to get $50 off your purchase. I will link down below in the description. So I have this tune, and this tune obviously has no bass guitar, but currently it sounds like this. It's simple, it's straightforward. I didn't want to give myself too much of a hill to climb, so to speak, with the Jammy. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to track the MIDI bass. Maybe it'll take a couple of times, I'm not totally sure, but currently my bass tone sounds like this. Sounds beefy, sounds huge, sounds great. So I'm gonna try to track this thing see what we come up with. We'll go into the MIDI afterwards and try to fine tune it a little bit, but hopefully we don't have to do much of that. Here we go. I mean, that felt pretty good. Let's listen back in and hear what this sounds like. Okay, pretty good. Something I want to note with the Jammy guitar is I was able to change the tuning, the output tuning of the MIDI. So in this example, I was in drop D tuning, and I was simply able to go into the Jammy software on the iOS iPad app and just select drop D tuning, and then I have the option to drop it a half step if I was in drop C sharp, for example. But for this, it's just a push of a tuning button. So let's go into the MIDI. I missed a few notes, and the reason why I think that is because I tend to want to ergonomically pick too far to the end of the string when I need to be up further. That's my problem. But we're gonna go into the MIDI and we are gonna fine tune this. Yeah, so we're gonna go, so these are all basically eighth notes. My picking is off. So you can tell it was trying to kind of compensate, which is fine. And obviously, I am not going to be dead on the beat. As we can see, everything is, the strums are slightly off because I am human. Okay, I went through and I've been basically just kind of taking out these anomalies up here. This is basically fret noise where my fingers hit on the other parts of the fretboard. We're just gonna clean all those up, and I'm gonna do things like that. And we should be in pretty good shape. So let's see how this sounds. Pretty good, honestly. And I have total control to change parts after the fact if I want, which is not something I could do with a regular bass, which is why I'm a huge proponent of the MIDI instruments. One of the many things you can do with the Jammy guitar, I've always wanted to try this. I haven't actually done this before, so this is a lot of fun. And I'm gonna try it with some other things as well. Last video, the original video I did for the Jammy, me and Josh did some orchestral things, and I wanna get more into like, you know, gritty bass guitar tones, and things like that. Shout out to the Jammy for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to know more information about all things Jammy related, I will link down below in the description. And with that, you've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, please consider subscribing. It helps me, help you, and then in turn, you get more stuff to watch. And also, I have all sorts of stuff down in the description of this video. Sweetwater giveaway stuff. There's all sorts of links to all sorts of things. So consider checking that out as well if you're gonna hang. But if you don't hang, all good. I still love you.